Hey everyone, welcome to part 16 of the Tiny Wanderland. This is your host Jay. This is um this is probably one of the most difficult episodes that I'll have to narrate. There isn't a lot of pictures to show you about what took place just because uh in real life, unless you're on the show Cops or something like that, you're not running around with a camera filming every single second. I mean, most people try to, but I don't. And I said I'd present this story to you guys as it actually happened. So there was no cameras or videos or funny clips or sound bites to document what took place. Um, so I'll get into it, and then I'm going to move on pretty quickly into some better stuff. But I want to get through this as best I can, and I want to do it accurately that's fairly representing all parties. So as you knew in episode 15, Carl was not working on the Tiny Wanderer. He was not helping at all, and he got very angry and very upset. One could use the word butthurt, if you will, by the fact I was looking for another welder to help. I don't know the exact communication between him and Heather, but I do know it became very uncomfortable for Heather to be in the house. I was already, of course, staying out on that little tent area you saw up in the backyard. And Heather went and had a talk with Carl because me and him weren't speaking. And she came out and she told me that he said we had 2 days to get off his property. And so, of course, we weren't talking. The newly born Tiny Wanderer was up off its axle. It had no floor, no walls, nothing to attach anything to. And suddenly we were just supposed to leave. So over the next day or so, through some very stilted communications with Carl, we let him know that in order to get the axle back on the trailer, we would need to use his air tools, since it was his air tools that took them off. And he told Heather, kind of in no uncertain terms, that we weren't using any of his tools, we weren't using any of his stuff, and we would have to figure it out ourselves. Heather must have put on the charm, because she did convince him to turn on the air compressor and allow me to put the axle back on. So with Heather's help, I did do that. Then we put the floor back down, and we assembled, I guess they call them pull rings that were once on the walls when we bought the trailer. We assembled them on the floor so that we could haul the motorcycle inside the trailer. After this was done, we were approaching the 4th of July holiday, and we didn't really know where we were going. All we knew is that we were leaving Carl's. That night, I think it was 4th of July, I think it was literally July 4th evening, me and Heather started to pack up the trailer in the night. And what I didn't tell you guys about in a previous episode, and I apologize for missing, sometimes I miss details because it was quite an adventure, is that when we were cleaning out Carl's garage, we came across a ring. I don't know the exact value of the ring, but I went up to Heather and said, "Look, I worked my whole life to give this to you." It was kind of a joking thing, little satire, and of course she heard Carl give it to me, and Heather looked at the ring and then she put it back on Carl's table. Now, like I told you, if you set anything down in Carl's, you'll be lucky if you'll ever find it again. Well, Carl came out as we were packing the trailer and said he wanted the ring, and we said, "Well, we put it down on that table days ago." He's like, "Okay, look, if I don't find the ring, I'm going to call the police." So the situation was turning grim real fast. So Carl went inside, and I told Heather, "Look, in the past, I had a little bit of trouble. I've got it all cleared up now." And guys, it was nothing. It was a stupid parking ticket, traffic accident violation that I didn't take care of for a while, and they caught up with me, but that's another story. We're not going to talk about that. But all I'm saying is that I had taken care of that, and I didn't know exactly, since I travel so much, I didn't know exactly what was out there where. So I said, if the police show up, first thing we're going to do is we're going to lock the trailer. We're going to lock the trailer and hide the keys, because they have no warrants. They can't go through our trailer. So Second, I said, if something happens, take my credit card and make sure you bail me out before you leave the area. So now that was taken care of, this was a pretty tense situation, guys. It may sound funny, but it wasn't. It wasn't hilarious. It wasn't laughable. There was no humor whatsoever. We were scared and we didn't know what was going on, and it was about to get a lot worse than that, believe me. But I'm putting a picture of Carl up on the screen in case you guys are just joining us. He looks like a really decent guy, but I would have to say he probably has some mental issues, and I'll get into that in a second. Needless to say, the police didn't come. We finished packing up the trailer, and then me and Heather went to bed, and we didn't hear from Carl. The next day, sometime in the morning, we were packing up. We drove the trailer and the SUV up to the tent, and we were going to take the tent off of that roof structure that we had put it on, bolt it back up on top of the SUV. Now remember, we didn't have Carl's forklift or tractor, so we had to do it all manually, and that thing weighs a ton, believe me. Ask Lindsay, ask Peter, ask Anthony down in Phoenix, and his friend who assisted, Nick's friend, I should say. I'm sorry, I've got that wrong. Excuse me, Nick's friend, and Nick, who my former landlord, who actually helped us put that up there back right after I took my fall before I left Phoenix. So anyway, we were in the middle. We managed to get it all the way almost on the SUV when suddenly it fell down, and it was literally crushing me to death. And I said, Heather, whatever you do, please do not let go. And she didn't. That girl bared that, all the weight of that, probably 150 pounds of force against her, so I could get out from underneath it. Now we got the tent up on top of the SUV, and we were bolting it in when Carl started to walk up to the was it driver? I'm sorry, guys. I'm really trying to remember this as it happened, and it's something I've blocked out. So I was wrong. While me and Heather were putting the tent on the SUV, I believe it was Yavapai sheriff came into the driveway, and then they didn't even stop at Carl's. They drove right up to the backyard where we were, and the police officer got out. He was a very nice man, and he asked about the ring, and we told him we didn't have it. And he asked the situation. I said, we're not talking. The man didn't help us out, and we're leaving the property. He's like, well, I had come here because I didn't want any violence, or things were getting kind of hot and heavy. Carl was getting angry. I said, look, even if you had a warrant to search this trailer, it would take you days to look through it to find anything, and it's not in there, okay? Nothing of his is in there. That wasn't entirely true, guys, but we didn't know that at the time, and we'll get back to that in a minute. So he said, okay, you guys just finish the trailer. He's going to stay down there. You're going to stay here, put the tent on the trailer, and then leave. And that was it. And then he drove off. And so we thought that was it. We started buckling the rails on. And so just to give you guys a visual, Heather was on the driver's side of the SUV working on the buckles, the whatever you call it, the clamps to hold it onto the rail, and I was on the passenger side. Carl came up the passenger side. Now keep in mind the trailer was hooked up, and when the trailer's hooked up to the SUV, it's like 35 feet long total. So Carl was standing back behind the trailer on the passenger side, and I was standing at the front, almost level with my passenger door. And Carl came up, and he told me, he said, what about the cabinets? You know, what about the cabinets, you guys? I said, no, we can't carry those. We don't have any room. We're just going to have to throw them out. He's like, well, I'll bill you for, trash removal or whatever. And I said, fine, you know what? My address is, 69 Anywhere Lane or whatever. And I was being mouthy because I was upset. And he said, you know what? He's like, I want you off my property right now. And I said, yes, Carl, we are actually finishing bolting the tent on, and then we are going to leave. He said, I want you to get in your car, and I want you to drive away right now. And I told him, I said, Carl, I am not leaving this spot until those clamps are on, and we can travel safely down the highway. This is when Carl proceeded to pull out a .357 Magnum pistol and aim it directly at me. Me and Carl had been friends for a very long time, so this was quite a shock when this happened. Remember, Heather couldn't see any of this. So he said, "You're leaving the property right now." I myself started backing up very slowly, folks. I was able to get my hand into my passenger seat and undo the combination to my biometric safe that has my Keltec, I believe it's a PMR 30. Yeah, PMR 30 PMR 30 22 caliber pistol. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gun, guys. But I don't like guns. I don't like them. I don't like anything to do with them because of my past, and I'm not going to get into that with you guys, but I'm not for guns. I'm not for people who want to gather a bunch of guns. I don't think it's necessary. I think we can settle our differences in other ways. But needless to say, I found myself pulling a gun on my once very dear friend, Carl. We now had both our pistols cocked, and we were literally aiming at each other. And all I could think is, I'm about to kill this man. And over something so stupid. And I told Carl, I don't want our friendship to end like this. And he said, "I'll put you down." And I said, "Not before I put you down." I don't know what happened, folks. There was something, a look in his eyes, maybe, looking what was going on. And I decided that this wasn't going to be the way this was going to end. So I released the hammer and I placed my gun down in the safe again. I held up my hands and I said, "Carl, I'm an unarmed man. You can't shoot me." And I said, "We will leave." And I told Heather to get in the car and to come around the side and get the car, and we would drive away. So we drove off of Carl's property, and the very last thing we did, and Lord forgive us for this, but this guy had put us through absolute nightmare, is we had a little porta potty that we had, gotten in off of Amazon, and we had been using it, obviously here and there while we were doing the build, and we decided to empty the raw sewage at the edge of Carl's driveway. So Lord forgive me, but the guy had put us through so much, and so we drove away. And we put Carl's behind us, and I have never been back there since. This picture you're seeing is the night before we left Carl's. As you can see, we have the floor back on, and we have the rings to secure the bike. And next up, you're going to see some pictures of me just kind of hanging out in we were in Prescott Valley. We stayed in the area. And I think this is me kind of plotting out over a meal what we're going to do next. Some of our crazy neighbors in the hotel. I don't know anyone who puts a kayak on a Miata, but more power to you. I was very tired from the encounter with Carl. I was absolutely physically and emotionally exhausted. And so Heather must have snapped this shot when I passed out. That's me next to the trailer. You will notice, if you have been watching all along, that the rim well or the wheel well is higher, because we went to a shop that day, and forgive me that I don't remember their name, and I feel so bad because they did such a wonderful job, but I think it was under $200, they literally raised they basically did what Carl was supposed to do. They took the axle, they welded the collars on it, and then they raised it up 4 inches. If they hadn't done that, we would have never, ever been able to do what we did coming up later with the tiny home. Just some pictures of the hotel, me trying to figure stuff out. I think I was trying to assemble something on the hitch. Picture of Maggie with the tent on her again. Me just kind of relaxing by the pool. At this point, we decided to go to Cedar City. We knew that the Lord was pointing us back there, and that we'd find the help we needed, and we were right. And we'll get to that in episode 17. Maybe a little while before that comes out, because I got to get it together. But remember, guys, we are soon about to transition from this slideshow story format and go to kind of separate videos about the build and the adventures we had in Cedar City. So I don't know exactly when that transition will take place. We may just continue doing these as well. I don't know. We'll see. But I want to thank you all for hanging with us for these 16 episodes. Hopefully you've learned a lot and you've had a great time in the story, the backstory, as it were, And I think this will be the final backstory. Keep an eye on the thumbnails. If you don't see backstory down in the bottom left anymore, that means we are in current times and we're no longer telling the backstory. Final message to Carl Kunzman, if you ever hear this, I'm sorry about what happened. I wish it could have ended a different way. I'm thankful that no lives were lost, and I hope you get the help you need, and treat your friends better next time. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for me. From me and the absent Heather, who I hope someday to bring in on these episodes, but I don't know if that'll be possible. We'll have to see what the fates decide. Also, she will very much be present in the video since she was pretty much the videographer for the entire thing. Okay, guys, feel free to follow us on social media, Facebook, TinyWanderland. We have a group there where you can join and talk about your builds, CTC, schoolie, tiny home, people in the back of a car with a tent on it. You're welcome. Everyone's welcome. It's the Tiny Wanderland Adventurers. You can find us on YouTube. If you're watching this, you're already there. You can find us on Instagram, on Twitter. No one ever goes there anyway, but whatever. But anyway, I'll see you guys in episode 17 in Cedar City, Utah, where we will once again restart the birth of the Tiny Wanderer. God bless. Take care, everybody.